Hey everybody, welcome to another YouTube video. And today this is a video that a follower requested about, it was a couple weeks ago and I'm just getting around to it. I actually had recorded it before. I didn't post it because I wanted to redo it. And so here we are. So I'm going to talk about amending tax returns and kind of my thoughts on it and how to do it and what you should include, so on and so forth. Before I do that, if you're getting a lot of value out of my content, there's three things I want you to do. Number one, I want you to like this video. Number two, I want you to subscribe to my channel. And number three, share it with your friends. Three simple things. Again, like my whole goal is to help teach people financial literacy, about taxes, personal finance, all of that. So please, please, please spread the word. So why do we amend income tax returns to begin with? We do it because there was either a correction made, you made a mistake, you omitted a form, you could have been subject to an audit and the IRS requested that you amend it, so on and so forth. Now, generally, if you amend a federal return, you probably will need to amend your state or city tax return as well to reflect any changes in taxable income. So just know that. When you do these, and I'm going to focus on the individual tax returns only. There are corrections for partnerships, there are ones for corporations, but we're only going to focus on individuals today. So what you generally need to include are copies of the original pages of the return, and you need to label them original on top. And then you need to have the copies of the amended return. Typically, I like to have those first two pages of the 1040 regardless, and then any schedules that have changed, you need to include in there. So for example, if let's say you got a new brokerage statement with some corrections on there and you amend the return, you don't need to put, all you need are the forms that capture anything related to the gain loss. So you don't need, like Schedule D, for example, and any other supporting forms. You do not need to put, like if you have a Schedule C for your business, you don't need to put a new copy of that in there because nothing changed in there. You just need to have the documents that support the changes that you're making to the amended return. And what I mean by documents are the ones that with the tax return, like what schedules and pages and all that you have changed. So I would put you have all the originals, and then you have ones that are amended. I would label each one on top amended or original so that it's clear in case they get separated or so on and so forth. You can also e-file them this year. That's new, but again, if you're going to e-file, like you would do that through your software provider, what have you. But again, it is an option. I've always, when I've had amendments, I've mailed mine, except this year I amended and I sent it, I did the e-file option. It could take a while for them to post. Just know that any changes that you make, I would recommend setting up an account with the IRS. You can go on their website, and I think like if you want to look to pay your estimates online, there's also an option like where you can view your account, which is a great way. Highly recommend doing that so that you can look at your transcript and see like what their records show versus like what you have. So all of that to say, here's the form, and you fill all this information. Like if you use software, you're going to have all of this. You need to pay attention here to a few things, and here are the columns. I want to pay attention to A and C. A is the original amount. This needs to match exactly what was on your original return. And if you use software, this should automatically populate. But double check, make sure it matches what you have on your original return. The correct amount would be what you're amending to. So make sure that is also correct. You want to make sure that these amounts are what you are trying to get after. So like if you changed your income from 100,000 to 200,000, you want to make sure that 200,000 shows up here. And then obviously any changes to the taxes, deductions, what have you, will also populate through here as well. Column B is an automatic calculation. It is just the difference between A and C. So that makes that one easy. So you don't need to really do anything special for that. The other key thing here that I will tell you down here is make sure that you fill out the explanation of changes. Make sure that you're fairly detailed. You don't need to write a whole novel about it, but you need to explain why you're changing something. Like I said, you could say, hey, got a new brokerage statement where, my dividend income was 10,000, now it's showing 12,000, so I'm amending the return to reflect that. That makes a lot more sense versus just saying made changes on return. That be detailed, have enough detail to not only help them, to help yourself, because if you come 2 years later and they audit you, you might be like, well, why did I make that change? Why did I amend that return? Put good you should always have good documentation, but I would explain, be succinct, but you don't have to write a novel, but also be thorough and explain like what you're doing. Now, a lot of times, like, you get amendments because of documentation. So let's say you had a W-2 and then they issue a corrected one, and maybe it's only 50, maybe it's $1,000 different. Here's my thought. I would amend it, and here's why. Because while it's a small amount, if you owe more tax, they will get a copy of that W-2, even the corrected one, they get a copy of it. And what they will do is they'll send you a notice with an additional amount due. I've seen before, like, where clients forget that they have a K-1, which K-1 is a form if you have a partnership, but the IRS gets a copy of that. And what will happen is the client will get a letter from the IRS and they'll say, well, why do I owe this money? Not realizing, well, you didn't send a K-1. I never got a K-1 from you to prepare your return. So there was nothing there. And especially if it's a new client, you don't know, in prior years they haven't had this K-1, so you don't know to look for it or ask for it. But if they don't give it to you, but the IRS has a copy, you have a mismatch there. So what you ultimately have to do is you may have to amend the return to reflect that, hey, I forgot this K-1, I need to put it in here. So that's kind of my general rule of thumb. Now, if it's a brokerage statement and it's off by like $2, I wouldn't do it. I think at the end of the day, if you have a CPA preparing your returns, a cost benefit analysis, because they're obviously going to charge you the time to prepare that, unless it was a mistake that they made. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to, if it's a big enough adjustment, I would definitely amend, because the IRS will come after you with a notice. So like I said, I think it really comes down to as to whether or not you want to take that chance or not, is a cost benefit analysis. And again, like, you have to look at what does it cost to prepare the return versus the adjustment or the tax savings or whatever that you would have to pay. But in general, like, I recommend amending it, especially if the amount is significant. But again, that the amount that's significant is going to be a judgment call. So hopefully this helps. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop them below in the comments. And if you have other ideas for videos, let me know, because I'm always looking for new content ideas, and I want to deliver content that people they're in need of. So I hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, stay out of trouble.